All right, so I'll give you the bad news and then the good news. The bad news is that we are going to be doing about 50 minutes of this is going to be demo, where I'm going to be on my computer showing you step by step how to go through and set these things up. That can sometimes be hard to follow on the screen up here, and there might be parts you miss. That's the bad news. The good news is I'm recording my screen and I'm recording my voice, and I can send you a copy of this training afterwards, all right? So hopefully, if you have a really important question as we're going, feel free to ask, but try to make sure it's something everyone is going to benefit from, because sometimes these kind of step-by-step demos can get bogged down a little. But just remember, there will be a copy of the entire training that you can go back and reference when we're finished, okay? So let's go ahead and start. I'll tell you a little bit about myself since this is the first training, and I'll be doing all 12 of these moving forward. So my name's Nick Niehaus. I own a business called Connect Marketing, which I started about 4.5 years ago. And at Connect Marketing, we specialize in making real estate agents, loan officers, and insurance agents local famous. So that means is that we're really good at helping them get really popular in a very small segment of the either area or demographics. So either having a really strong sphere of influence that is always thinking about them, or targeting specific neighborhoods around town. A really big tool that we use in that business is Facebook. So that's kind of part of my credentials. One of my other credentials is that I'm a millennial. So I grew up with all of this stuff, right? So I've been on Facebook for about 10 years. I've been using it daily for a lot of that time, unfortunately. So I do get distracted by it, but I've also learned how to use it as a tool. And Facebook is always changing, so some of the stuff we go over today might be changed in a week, right? So don't say that to scare you, but just remember, there's literally updates almost every single day that happen somewhere on Facebook. So to get into it, I want to talk first about why Facebook is important. Make sure that we all understand, what is so impactful about it. So to me, this is probably one of the most impressive graphs you can look at when it comes to Facebook. So Facebook has over 2,000 million, so that's 2 billion monthly active users. So that is basically about 30% of the entire world that uses Facebook at least once a month. And in the US, they have almost 200 million daily active users, which I'll mention in a second. So Facebook is the big player. That's the number one reason to make sure you're using it as much as you can, because it's where the most people spend the most time. So you might hear about millennials are really on Snapchat or they're using Instagram. That is true. There are some shifts happening, but still Facebook is the big player. Next is Instagram, although Instagram is owned by Facebook, right? So they own number one, they own number two, and then you look at Twitter comes in there as number three. So Instagram is also really big. You can do advertising on Instagram through the Facebook ad platform. So that is something that we will do in a later training. So if you're looking to utilize Instagram, we will cover that a little bit down the road in a few months. And then you have Pinterest, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and Reddit. One that really stands out to me is LinkedIn is very small, but it is pretty powerful if you do B2B. So if you do things in commercial real estate, obviously LinkedIn can be good for you there. A couple other stats about Facebook. 75% of users spend 20 minutes or more every single day on Facebook. So I try to tell people, think about this a lot like the way TV used to work. So people used to spend hours, and some still do, spend hours and hours every day watching television. A lot of younger users, but everybody in general is shifting some of that time to social media. And if you look at people under the age of 25, a lot of them don't even watch traditional television anymore. They're on places like YouTube, they're on Snapchat, Instagram, some of them on Facebook, etc. 214 million US users. So you can imagine most people that have an internet connection at least have a Facebook account. And I believe at last count is about 170 million daily active users. That means there's more than half of the people in the United States get on Facebook on average once a day. Some of them are there, 50 times a day, right? So hopefully you're not there that much, but most people are using it pretty actively. Obviously, since there are so many people on the platform, you do have quite a large percentage of both men and women, urban, rural, suburban, like pretty much everybody's there. So that's one of the big appeals of Facebook. So I want to talk first, we're going to get into talking about setting up a business page. So this training today, and hopefully we were pretty clear with you about what this is, we are going to be going through all of the step-by-step processes that you need to do in order to set up and then optimize your business page. So if you already have a business page, you might not get as much out of this because you have set it up, but you probably will get some additional tips that you haven't thought about, some ways to look at the insights and things like that on the page. So before we get into this, just so I kind of know where we are, how many of you, first of all, have a personal, so not a business, but a personal Facebook account? You use Facebook. Okay, good. So everybody here is at least familiar with the platform. And then the other group, how many of you have set up a business page? Okay, so we've got the majority of people here, all right? So the next thing would be how many of you are actively posting on your business page? So you're sharing at least 3 to 5 things a week on your business page. Okay, at least 1 or 2, you're doing a little bit. Okay, so it sounds like some people have set it up and maybe aren't actively using it. So we will go through that demo. I'll try to maybe skip ahead a couple steps so that we're not showing you strictly how to just set it up in the first place. But the first thing I want to make sure we cover here is naming etiquette, right? So picking a name for your business page, and you can change the name on your page. You have to request Facebook to do it, so it's not an automatic, but you can do it. So if we go over this for a few minutes and you feel like, uh-oh, I picked the wrong name for my business page, you're not screwed. You can go back and actually change it. So there's basically 3 ways that I think of choosing a name for a Facebook business page. The first is thinking of it from kind of an SEO or a keyword standard, right? So thinking about what are the types of things people are going to search, and I want to make sure my name shows up there. That is really, to be honest, not how people use Facebook. You don't do a lot of searching on Facebook. You do that on YouTube or Google. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, obviously, but it's not as much of a search platform. So if you take the search perspective, if this is somebody who really wants to get discovered by random people searching for real estate on Facebook, then you want to make sure you use a name that has the keywords people would search for, okay? So you might say something like, if you want to focus on Kirkwood, you're going to be the Kirkwood real estate agent. Maybe put your brokerage name in there, right? Because those are the kind of terms people might search for. That's number 1. I would not necessarily recommend that. I just want to make sure that we covered it. The next 2 are the ones that I really see a lot of people using and that I would recommend. Number 2 would be a personal branding kind of perspective on your name, right? So the idea of a personal brand is to focus on you. And for most real estate agents, obviously, the brand of your business is essentially you, because you are your business in a lot of ways, right? So personal branding, that could take a couple forms. Obviously, it's going to include your name. So that'd be the first thing, is if you do want to have people connecting with you and you want it to look like you are the face of the business, you're going to want to use your name. And then you might want to add real estate agent or realtor or the name of the brokerage after your name. But make sure that your name is in there, because that's how people can find you. Now, I'm not a real estate agent, I'm a marketer, but I have a Facebook page that is just my name. So it just says Nick Niehaus. And the reason that going that specifically towards a personal brand can be so powerful is that when you post things and when you run ads, what does that post look like? Does it look like a business page or does it look like a personal page? Got my name, right? So it looks like a personal page. People obviously want to interact with their friends and family more than they want to interact with a random real estate agent, right? So if I post something from my business page and it says just my name, it tends to perform better than when I use our actual Connect Marketing business page. So we have one of those, and then I have my personal page. So I would consider that. Yep.
How does that being different from the personal page from your business page? You put your first name first and then your business after it?
So what I have done is I have my personal account says Nick Niehaus, and I have a business page that says Nick Niehaus, right? Now, the business page and the personal account work very differently. So just because they have the same name does not mean that they're at all the same thing. It's just basically, so if I post something, let me give you just one example. If I post something on my business page, I can collect stats on that. So for instance, if I post a video, I can see how many people watched the video. So not just the views, but how many individual people watched the video, how much time the video was consumed, what the average amount of view time is. So all the statistics that I don't get when I post on my personal page. So that would be one big reason to have both, even though it still says my name on it, right?
One of the small dumb questions. If I put in your name, will both pages come up and then I can just pick which one I want to go to?
Yes. So if somebody searches for it, they're going to get your personal profile, and then they're going to have another section where it says pages, and they're going to see your page in there as well, right? And again, the way people discover things on Facebook is less search and more just organic sharing. So if somebody sees a video of mine and they share it, and then their friends see it, like that's how they discover me a lot of times. So that's why if I have a personal brand there, that tends to be, it's more enticing. People are more excited to follow what looks like a, it's kind of like a celebrity, right? It's just their name, right? So it's kind of fancy. So that's one thing to consider. That isn't the only way to do it. The other way you can do it that I also recommend is to focus more on kind of a lifestyle brand or a niche, and that would have nothing to do with your name or your business. So this is if you want to say, hey, I don't necessarily want to be the face of my business. What I want is I really want to work with families that live in Kirkwood, right? Like that's my niche. I really like working with families in Kirkwood. So you might want to name your page something about, Kirkwood Family Lifestyles or Kirkwood Family Fun or something like that, right? If you do that, you're going to want to make sure you post lots of things about Kirkwood and about families and not just real estate, right? You're going to make it something people are interested in. So that would be kind of the third option, is to focus on a niche or a lifestyle. Most people, just if you're concerned about which one to pick, are going to go with number 2, and they're going to have their name, and they're going to probably add something about real estate or the broker name after theirs. So that's something that you can do. So I want to do that before we go into the demo. I'm going to switch over to the demo now. So what I am going to be doing is sitting here. So I'm going to sit down. So you still raise your hands if you need a question. I might have to jump up to call on you. As I go through this, if you're having trouble seeing what I'm clicking on, please let me know. I can zoom in on the screen. The idea behind this demo was to show you how to set up a business page. I think almost everybody here, can I get a show of hands who does not have a business page as opposed to who does? Okay, so we do have 5 or 6. Okay, so I am going to start from the beginning, so don't worry, you won't get left behind. For those of you that do have a business page, the first 5 minutes or so you're not going to necessarily need, but a lot of the stuff we do after that will probably be helpful to them. Okay. So, for those of you in the back, can you see that all right? Not too bad? Okay. Like I said, I am also recording this right now, so you can check the video later if you missed something. Okay, so when you first want to set up your business page, this is what your home screen looks like. This is called the news feed. So this is where all the posts from all the pages you follow and all your friends are going to show up for you. So if you just logged in, this is what you should see. And to create a new page or to access any existing pages, you come over to this Explore section right here, and you're going to come down and click on Pages. So I'm going to go back, I'll do that one more time. Yeah, this is when you log into Facebook. So this is what Facebook looks like when you log in. Obviously, you're going to have different posts in your news feed, but you want to come over to this Explore section and click See More, and then click Pages. Okay, so now once you've clicked on Pages, you're going to see all the pages that you have liked. So you can come here to look at all the pages that you've liked before, but if you need to create a new one, you come over here to Create Page. Alright, so it's under More. It shouldn't say More if you're not zoomed in like I am, but you want to go over here and you're going to click Create Page. Alright, so once you've clicked on Create Page, this is the very first step you need to do. You do have some options. Some people would argue that you might want to select brand or product, but generally real estate agents are going to be using local business or place. So you click on this first one right here. And the reason for that is that real estate agent is a category you can select. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and select that first. So this tells Facebook what kind of page this is. So this is a page for a real estate agent. Alright, so the first thing we do is we need a name. So I'm not a realtor, but I'm just going to pretend for today. So I put in my name and realtor. You might want to put a hyphen in there or something like that if you want to make sure those are separated. And then you can also put an address in here. So obviously you want to put the address of probably your broker, unless you work out of another location regularly. So the address that you put in here, this is public information. Alright, so if you put an address in here, this is what people are going to assume is your office or where they can come meet you. It doesn't mean people are just going to show up at your door. but if they find your Facebook page, this is the information that they're going to have. So I'm just going to, for example, put in our information. Okay, so to sum this up before I move on, again, we selected local business or place. We put the name of the page in. We typed in real estate agent for the category. And then we put the address of where we work. I don't know why that got.
Right. I'm thinking if they click on it.
Alright, let's see. There we go. Okay. Alright, let me click Get Started. Alright, so the two things, and I'm going to skip this stuff, but the two things that Facebook is going to ask you to upload right off the bat are going to be a profile picture, and then the second one is your cover photo. So I'll show you what those are in a second. We're going to just click on Skip for now so we can get to the actual page. Alright, so I'm zooming out for a second to show you, as you're doing this, oh, that's the wrong direction. Zooming way in. Okay, so when you first start your page, Facebook is going to give you a couple suggestions. The first is that it wants you to invite your friends. You don't have to do that right away, so you probably don't want to invite your friends until you've set it up and you have a couple posts and it looks like there's a reason for people to like the page. So I would go ahead and close that one out. You don't need to do that first. The second thing it's going to ask you to do is to publish your first post. We will come back to that. If you're doing this at home, obviously feel free to go ahead and publish a post, but I'm going to be talking about the different kinds of posts that you can publish in a minute, so we'll come back to that. So those are really the only two suggestions it gives you. Okay, so now we have a page, right? There's very little information. We haven't done anything with it yet. So we need to add a cover picture as well as a profile picture. So what you're going to do here is you're going to go up to Add a Cover. And then you have a couple options, and those are going to be, you're going to either create a slideshow, upload a photo or video, choose from videos or choose from photos. These two, choose from photos and choose from videos, are only available if you've already uploaded something to Facebook. So we're going to go ahead and go to Upload. And then this gives us the option to upload whatever we want. So I'm just going to use a header that I created the other day here. So if you haven't, so this is, when you upload your cover photo, you need to have already created it or downloaded it, right? So, this is, I'm in a networking group, and our chapter's name is BBQ, right? So obviously, look, it's a barbecue, makes sense. So this can be for a real estate agent. A lot of agents are tempted to put a picture of a house. If you're a real estate agent, people know you sell homes. You don't have to explain that to them with your cover photo. So you can be a little more strategic with what you put there, right? So a lot of times the suggestion is represent the lifestyle that you're selling. Okay, so if you're selling a lifestyle that's first-time home buyers, maybe put a young family on there. Put something that represents the people you want to work with. So obviously for our networking group, we want people that like to hang out and have fun at places like barbecues. That's kind of the theme of what we do. So this would be a decent picture, although we might want to look for something that actually has some people in it. So that's the cover photo. One other thing I want you to keep in mind here is that you can actually put a video up here as well. So rather than a picture, so for those of you that have a business page, this is something I'd strongly recommend thinking about, is if you have a video of yourself talking about what you do, or again, if you have a video, especially if you have a video of someone giving you a testimonial, talking about how great you are, but it's not you, that's a really good video to put here. So think about that, right? So if you don't have a video yet, you can create one. You don't have to have one. You can obviously put an image here. But this is a big opportunity because anybody that comes to your page is going to see that video automatically play. So if you have prospects coming to this page and you have a video here, that's going to be a lot more enticing than just an image, right? Alright, so that's the cover photo. Make sure that you do that first. And then the second thing you're going to want to do, and actually one note I did want to add here, with the cover photo, if you'd like to add things, like if you have a cool picture, but you're like, man, I wish this had my phone number on it, or man, I wish this had, my name or some other information, or if I want to splice two pictures together, there's a tool called Canva. So that's Canva, and it's just a website. It's a free website, canva.com. And essentially, Canva is really simple graphic design software for everyone. So if you think about, man, I couldn't get on Adobe and design a flyer. That sounds like a lot of work, and the software is hundreds of dollars. Canva is free. They have all kinds of templates. They have text you can drag and drop over your picture and all kinds of stuff, right? So I'm not going to go into how to use Canva. That's an entire class in and of itself. But if you do need to do some editing, if you like simple things like I want to make, take two pictures and put them in the same image, or I want to add some text or a phone number, all that kind of stuff. If you want to make a flyer, Canva is a really awesome free tool, and you can sign up and you can spend nothing to get that stuff done. So that's a great thing to use if you're trying to edit a picture. Just want to make sure I shared that with you in case you need that information. Then the next thing you want to do is come up here and click on your profile picture, right? So again, this is the picture of you. So this does not need to represent a lifestyle. It should be a picture of yourself. You're going to probably want to go to upload. Oh, I don't know if I have my headshot in this computer. Just going to use the BBQ stuff again. So you just go ahead and upload a picture. Now, the one piece of advice I will give you on that is a lot of people use a really polished looking headshot, and it's like 10 years old, right? It's kind of the notorious real estate agent. They're like, oh, you're not the same age as your picture, right? So please don't do that. I mean, people are not so shallow that they're going to not work with you if you look, if you look like you are right now. So I really recommend, don't necessarily use a super polished headshot. Like, you can use a selfie picture. You can use something you took with your own phone or your own camera. Don't feel like it has to be a really polished shot, but please make sure that it's up to date. That's the other thing, right? So I would say within 6 months, if you have something that's 6 months or less old, that would be a really great headshot. And then obviously this is the image that we have been using for our chapter, just two people shaking hands, right? So just go ahead and click save. So those are the basic first steps, right? You just want to make sure you got a picture, you want to make sure you got a profile. You got to cover all that kind of stuff. So that's just step number one. So hopefully now we're going to get into some stuff that if you already have a business page, you might actually benefit from. So I don't know where my cover photo went. I think I forgot to hit save. I'm going to go ahead and leave that alone for now, though. So the next thing I'm going to recommend that you do is set up a call to action button. So for those of you that have a page, do you have a button right here that says like send me a message or some example of that? Okay. So for those of you setting this up, you're going to want to click on add a button. And you have a lot of options here, all right? So we're just going to go over a couple of them really quickly, but you can obviously do a lot with this button. And if you don't have this button, it's a big mistake. You should definitely have a call to action, because anybody that lands on your page here, there's a lot of things they can click on. This button is the one that stands out the most, right? So this is the most obvious of all the buttons on your page. You want to make sure it's doing what you want it to do, right? So you got to ask yourself, if someone comes to my profile, if they come to my business page, what is the one thing, what's the number one thing I would like them to do if I don't know them, right? You have no control over what they do, but if you could pick, what would it be? So for some of you, you're going to say, hey, I really want them to call me. So if that's the case, you click on contact you, and you click on call now. All right, and then you just go ahead and click next. And it's going to ask you to add your phone number, and that's going to be the number that they're going to be able to call. So this is really cool, especially if they're on their phone. They can click that button, and it's going to automatically open up their phone app, and it's going to give them just one step to call you. So that's one that you can use. That's probably the most common. Another one that's very popular is send message. So a lot of people are using Facebook Messenger now, and they're interacting with businesses. I do that all the time. If I want to reach out to a restaurant and find out if they're doing a happy hour deal or not, you can shoot them a message. If you have a question, while you're in the real estate buying process, obviously being able to send messages can be really helpful. So send message is another great example. You can also allow people to send you an email. And then one down here that I also want to mention is join your community. So we're not talking about groups during this training. We will talk about groups in a later training. But you can create a group that you can attach to your business page, right? So this is one that's also very useful if you really have an enticing group. So let's say you had a lifestyle page, back to that example from earlier, if you had that Kirkwood page, maybe you want to have a group for Kirkwood families, and you want to tie that to your page, and you want to allow them to visit that group and give them that call to action button, right? So that way, if you can get those people, they find your page, oh, interesting, they're talking a lot about Kirkwood, I thought about moving there, and then there's a group they can join, they're going to stay engaged, and now you have them in a group where you can continue interacting with them. So we're not talking, like I said, we're not going to go into depth on groups right now, but groups are becoming a bigger and bigger part of Facebook, especially for business. So if you don't have a group, you don't have to create one today, but just keep that in mind. That might be something to do in the future. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and leave it as call now.
Nick, can you put down for the contact, can you do call and email, or it has to be one thing?
Yeah, so the call to action for this button, now you can put all of your information on your page. We'll go over that in a second. But for this button, you have to pick one thing, okay? And even if it wasn't that way, I would recommend only giving them one thing, because every time you add another option, it makes it harder for them to make a choice. So if it's just a button that says call now and they click it and it opens their phone app and they start a call, that's more likely to get you more leads than if you actually give them two options. If you give them two options, your number of leads overall will actually probably go down. So that's why they limit it to just the one option. So we went ahead.
You find that the call is better than the email?
That's going to depend on your business, right? So I would say focus here on what you like doing the most. So if you're like, oh man, I don't like when people rant, like, I get a lot of phone calls from like 636 numbers that are actually salespeople from other states that just makes me not want to answer my phone even when it is like a customer calling if I don't recognize the number. So I might encourage people to message me, because then I can see who they are, right? If I get a message, it shows me their name and everything like that. So that would just be based on what you like to do in your business. So if you really like being on the phone, choose call. If you like email, choose email, etc. We'll go ahead and hit finish here. So now we have a call to action button. So now anybody that lands on this page, they're going to see this button right here, and they can go ahead and click that to put a call into us. Okay, so that's the CTA button. We're now going to move on to the business info. All right, so all that information about your business, the hours you're open, your phone number, your contact information, email, all that we're going to go ahead and edit right now. So you can see these three little dots that are right next to them. I can zoom back in again for those of you in the back. So those three little dots right here that are right next to the share button, that's what you want to click on. And the very first option is edit page info. So go ahead and click on that. So now this is going to give you all of the different kind of specific details that you can share with people. Now again, remember that this is public information. So please don't put anything in here that you would not want literally anyone in the world to be able to access, right? So if you put an email address in here, that's great for customers. It also means salespeople can find it and that they will contact you, right? So just remember that, right? It's obviously the trade-off between the more you promote yourself, the more you're letting people find this. But just make sure you're only sharing things that you're willing to allow people to discover. So the first thing you can do here is your category. We obviously set this as real estate agent, but you can change it. So if you build up a big following on your business page and you end up changing careers and you're going, man, I got 2,000 people that follow my page, I don't want to delete it, you can come in here and change that category. So that can be useful. This impressum thing I leave blank. This is primarily for these other countries that require it, so we're going to skip that. Then you have your contact information. So you have your phone number, which I put in earlier because I set up that call to action button. But if you chose a different call to action, you'll need to put your phone number in. Then you can put your website. So we'll go ahead and put my website in here. Obviously, make sure you click Save Changes so that it saves it. And then your email. So this is the one you got to be careful about. You want to make sure that if you put your email in here, you're all right with getting emails from anybody that finds your Facebook page. And then there's a section here for additional links. So anybody have ideas of other links you might want to put on your Facebook page?
Address of your company?
Well, we'll put address in a second. So I'm talking more like links on the internet. So things you would like, other
like
pages or
LinkedIn,
yeah, right, exactly.
LinkedIn,
Yep. So your
Twitter,
LinkedIn page, that could be a good one. Your Twitter account. Your if you have an Instagram, you can link to that, right? If you have if you have a profile on a place like Zillow that you want people to see, right? So just think about all the other places on the internet that you might want someone to be able to find you, and you can put those in the links. Oh,
Have you added?
I see a hand there.
I'm just curious, when you activated that call now or the email one,
Uh huh.
does that get shot out to everybody? Because all of a sudden I'm getting likes that I shared that.
It should not. Well, when you update things, sometimes Facebook will tell certain people that you updated it, but it should only do that if they've liked the page already. So it should only really be showing it to people who have already liked it, right? So is that what you're experiencing? A couple of them have liked it. Yeah. So I'm going at this from the perspective that this is a new page, right? So that there's no one who's liked this yet. So everything I'm doing right now, none of my friends are seeing, right? If you have an existing page and you have a bunch of likes on it and you make changes here, and again, you can't really control who Facebook shows it to, but it'll sometimes show that to some of the people who have already liked the page, right? So that might be why you're getting some interaction. Yeah. And sometimes, obviously that is generally a good thing, because if you change, like, oh, I changed my website, you probably want your followers to know that, right? Sometimes it can be bad though. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're a team,
Uh-huh.
a page is a team page.
Sure.
It let me put in 2 emails, but not 2 phone numbers, right?
I haven't actually tried that before. Yeah. Didn't let you put one in. Yeah. So I mean, obviously these are, again, I want to emphasize this, like, from a marketing perspective, the more choices you give people, the less likely they are to choose any of them, right? So you've probably seen, like, anybody ever going to, like, pick out some ice cream, there's like 50 flavors, and you stand there for like 10 minutes, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating, there's too many choices, right? I think it's called, like, the paradox of choice in psychology, but it's basically the issue of, like, the more options you give people, the harder it is to pick between them, and they will just leave. And that's especially true on the internet, right? If you're at the grocery store and you invested in going there already, you're going to probably still pick something. But if you're on the internet and all you got to do is click, there's a million things coming at you. I just got 3 notifications. My friend messaged me. It's all very distracting. If I don't pick something right away, I'm often going to leave, right? So I'd really try to kind of pare some of the stuff down. Even if you do have 3 or 4 emails and a couple phone numbers, give them 1 phone number, give them probably 1 email. In the additional links, put the best 1 or 2 additional links. Don't put 10, and you'll actually end up getting more people to engage with you that way. Okay, so now we had a question about address earlier. So we had already put our address in because we set up the page, and we obviously put the address in when we did that. But this is where you can also change it. So if you need to change the address, you can come in here, and you can also unselect this box. So if you decide, I don't want people to know the broker address, or maybe you don't ever do meetings there, so there's kind of no reason for people to know that, you can uncheck that box and the address won't show up on your page. And then obviously they have this map here, and I guess it did not find that address organically, so I can go ahead and zoom it in, and I won't bother you with that right now, but you can move that around until that pin is specifically on your address if it didn't find it, right? So we're somewhere in St. Louis. We'll leave it there.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I already have a page, but I don't know how you guys edit your details. Should I just go into my settings?
Let me. Yeah. Well, so let me. I'll come back just a second. So if you close that, this button right here. So you see those 3 dots right next to share. So if you click those 3 dots, the first thing should be edit page info right below.
I only have 3 dots.
Okay, well, I'll stick around a little bit after the meeting. If anybody has, like, specific problems, I can help you out. We'll keep moving for the sake of the group. But
She is
on personal profile. Okay, so back to the map. So obviously you can, there's one other box on here I want to point out that you can check, and that is customers visit my business at my street address. So if you uncheck that, what that means is that they're not going to see your address anymore. It's still going to be saved in the system, but they're not going to see it anymore. If you leave this box checked, that's what allows people to do the check-in feature. right? So you've probably seen that where they go to a meeting or something, and they'll check in at that location. That is a nice way to get your business name in front of new people. So if you have a client that comes into the office and they check in, some of their friends will see that they checked in at your office, and that's obviously one small way to get in front of new people. So I would try to leave that unchecked unless you really, you just never meet with people at that office, right?
Unchecked or checked?
So I would leave it checked. Yeah, I would only uncheck it if you want people not to know about where you're meeting. Sorry. Okay, we'll skip service area because that's really more specific to like people that do delivery and things like that. And then you can put hours on here. So this is obviously more for businesses that have open and close hours. Real estate agents work 24/7, right? So you're always open. So you could literally check always open, or you could just leave this all blank. You don't have to fill this out. So we'll just go ahead and check always open for now and click save changes. Okay, so that's the general information. Now we want to go to contact. Oh, actually no, this just moves you down throughout the section, right? So those are the 4 sections. So actually we've covered all that. So we'll close that out. So now we've got the basic business page set up. Okay, so we want to look now at some of the other sections on here. So description. You want to make sure that there's a description for your page. So this is the 1 to 2 sentences that describe what you do. This is the information that generally I believe will show up right below your profile picture, and it's also the information that gets shared with the page. So if someone shares your page, this is the stuff that someone's going to see below it. So you just want to make sure that this is something you're going to want to put a little bit of effort into and think about what entices someone to want to work with you. Okay, so we're looking at the page description. So right here when you go to first set up your page, it's going to give you some suggestions, and it's going to say add a short description. If that doesn't show up, let me find where I can... Okay, if that does not work, you can go to click on About. So for those of you that didn't see that shortcut, go ahead and click on About, which should be in your list of tabs over here on the left. And that's also where you can edit that. So there's obviously more than one way to do some of this stuff. So what you do is you come down to More Info, and you click on Edit About. So I'll do that one more time so everybody can see it. So I'm in the About section. I'm going to scroll down to where it says More Info right here. And I'm clicking Edit About. So again, that's where you can also find that. So again, it's limited to about, it says 255 bytes, so you got basically 255 characters, including spaces. So it really is about 2 sentences, right? So that's not a good example of what you should write, obviously, but we're not doing a copywriting workshop today. So make sure you just keep it short and sweet, and I would focus it on who is it you like to work with, not so much about yourself. Okay, so that's the About section. We already talked, we skipped that in Pressum, but then there's one other section where you can actually write a little bit more, and that's where you can really tell people your story, and it's literally called Our Story, right? So that is in the same About section. It's under this one, where it says Story. And again, we're not going to write this entire thing right now, so you might want to do a bit of a workshop to think about this. But this is where, this is kind of more like a blog post. So if you have a blog post, that actually might just be worth copying and pasting into here. So again, you can add a photo at the top. So just to show an example, I'm just throwing that in there. And then obviously, you can move it around, make sure it's positioned well. Okay, and then you can have a title. So, My Story is probably not the best title, but you can put that, whatever title you want in there. And then this is pretty open-ended. I don't know that there's an actual limit on how much you can write here. I would not recommend writing something more than maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs. So you want this to be something people can read if they want to, but you don't want to make them read an entire book. So this would be, really just kind of telling your story. So I would recommend, talking about why you got into real estate. Was there a particular reason or challenge that you were trying to overcome that you decided to become a real estate agent? Kind of tell that story, and this is basically a way people can get to know you. So if they're checking you out, maybe you're actually in contact with them already, and they found you on Zillow or something like that. They might come here, and this is the section where you can really kind of help them understand who you are, what you're all about, and kind of tell them a little bit about yourself. So, like I said, I'm not going to fill that out right now because that would take too long, but that's where the story is. And one other note about the story is that if you're a search engine optimization type, if you know SEO and you know how to do some of those things, that's where you can do some of your SEO, is in the story. So what that means is that you want to think about keywords that people might search for, because Google will also search this. So this isn't just Facebook, but Google will also look at those words and possibly pull up your page if it finds the right keywords, right? So obviously, if there's a part of town you like working in, make sure to mention it several times. If there's a name of your brokerage, make sure it's in there. Make sure the word's real estate, that sort of stuff. Think about that when you're creating that story. All right, so let's see. So we also want to go into here for username. So we did our story. We changed our about section. Now we're under general. So that's this one right here. And we are going to click on create page username. All right, so now this So again, that was under general on your page, and it's going to say username right here. All right, so this is unique. So this particular username, this is unique to your page. You cannot copy someone else's. So there might be another Nick Niehaus Realtor, because business page names can be the same. There might be more than one of those, but the username has to be unique. Because I believe this is actually going to show up in your profile, in your URL. So the idea here is just have something that looks like the name of the page without spaces. So this is, if you were creating an account on, Twitter, and you were creating a handle, you were creating the @ sign, and then your name on Twitter, that's the same sort of thing. Those have to be unique, right? Because if I want to search for this, I need to find just one person. So Nick Niehaus Realtor is not taken. And I'm going to go ahead and create that as my username. Okay, so I'm having trouble with that right now. I don't know why it's not working at the moment. Yeah.
I can put my name in there, and it says
Someone else has used that username already. Yeah. But yeah, I guess someone else in the country somewhere has the same name, or the world. Maybe anybody in the entire world. There's 2 billion people. Remember, that's a lot of people, right? So you never know. So that's the username part. I think some people are having trouble with that. So if you need to ask questions afterwards, we can come back around to that. So we want to keep moving here. All right. So now what we've done is we've edited our business details. We got our story. We got our about section. We're going to move on to looking at how to edit some of the layout of the page. All right. So these over here. So we're looking at the left side of the screen where it says home, services, reviews, etc. Those are tabs, and you can control which ones of those show up. So example on here, shop is probably not a tab that I need. If I'm a real estate agent, I'm not selling items, so I don't necessarily need that. Another one would be offers. It's not like I have special offers. Those are generally for stores, if you have a store where you're actually selling things. So if I want to change that, this is where we're going to get into the settings. All right. So this might get a little messy, but we're gonna try to follow along as best as possible. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to click on settings at the top. And this takes us to obviously a whole bunch of stuff. There are probably 100 to 500 different items and things you can look at here. We're not going over all of them, so don't worry about that. Okay, and then once you're in settings, you want to come to this third one, which is edit page. So go ahead and click on edit page. Okay, so what this does, so Facebook has a bunch of templates. So your business page, which works a lot like a website, there's a bunch of templates for it, and Facebook has different pre-made settings, right? So the template that we're currently working with is services. Since we selected real estate agent provide a service. That's what Facebook selected for us. So if we have services, that means that these are all of the tabs that they automatically provide for us. So you can move them around. So for instance, you click on this and drag it, and you can reorder things here. And then you can also click on settings for each of these. And it's going to give you the option to show it or not show it. So for instance, I'm going to, just to go back for a second, I'm looking at reviews right now. So reviews, obviously, you're going to all want reviews, because you want to get a lot of good reviews on your page. That helps you get more attention. So in settings, if you for some reason decided you did not want to have reviews, you could come in here and you could turn this off. So now it wouldn't show up on your page. But in the case of reviews, we do want that on. So I'm leaving it on. The second thing it's going to provide with you right here is it's going to show you the URL to send people directly to that tab. So where this is useful is if you want a review from someone, don't send them to your page, send them to the actual review tab, so that they don't have to take any extra steps, right? So if I said I got a client and I really want them to come to this reviews, if I were, and I just clicked on it, so it took me to it, but if I gave that URL to them, they're going to come to this page. It's the same page, but they're going to come to this tab that actually allows them to leave me a review. Yes.
When you're making changes on their pages and you're editing the page already built,
Yeah.
is there a way to keep it from notifying people that they've made changes? Is there a way to setting?
Not that I'm familiar with. So I can look into that later, but I'm not.
So she's going in and she's deleting it from the page so that people can see it.
That's the phone number, the hour, it just keeps going out every day.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. It's hard to tell who it's showing it to as well. So we can try to look at that after the meeting and see if there's something I can share with you about it. Again, we're coming at this from the perspective that this is all a new page. So, okay, so that was the tabs. So again, you can move these around. There are also, like I said, some of these you're probably going to want to get rid of. So we want to come down in here and for instance, offers. We don't necessarily need offers, because we don't have any special offers we're giving people. So we turn that off. We click save. We probably, the rest of this is shop as well. We're going to go ahead and turn off.
I missed this stuff somewhere. I'm not getting that page.
Okay, so we went to
Oh,
settings
settings.
and we went to edit page,
Okay.
right? And that should all be in there. Okay, so those are the different tabs, and then like I said, you can also move them around. So depending on what you want to really get people to see, I think reviews are probably number one, and then photos, videos, your posts, events. If you do events, you might want to move that up towards the top because you want people to notice your events. And then if you need something else, you can also come in here and click Add Tab. All right, and so there's additional tabs now that we can add to this. So we had offers and shop, which we removed, so those are showing up in here. But the other three you can add would be notes. So the notes are kind of like a blog. So if you want to have kind of a blog on your business page, live videos and groups, and those can all be added to the page.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to, if you want someone to do a review and they don't have Facebook, can they still get a review?
No. So they have to have a Facebook account. Yep. Just like on Google, you have to have a Gmail or Google account to leave a review. Yep. Okay, so that was the tabs, and if we go back to the page, you'll actually see, and again, so if we're in settings, let me make sure everybody saw that. If you want to go back to looking at the actual page, top left corner, it says page. You just want to go ahead and click on that, and that takes you back to the actual page. Okay? That's how you navigate back and forth. Alright, so now if we look over here, you'll see that we no longer have offers or shop, and you can see that I rearranged everything. So now reviews is at the top, events, photos, etc. Now one other thing, if you don't want to go back into the back end, if you want to collect reviews from people, if you click on reviews, and then you copy the URL. So this is the address for this review section. You can copy and send that as well. That's the same link as the one in the settings. So again, this is, I really want people to understand this particular point because reviews are very important. If you want reviews, make sure you send them that specific link. So send them an email, say, hey, please click this link, and then you'll have an option where you can select how many stars you would give me, and then after you select how many stars you would give me, you're going to be able to write the review and then click save. So that gives them as few steps as possible. If you just send them to your Facebook page and you make them click on reviews, you will confuse someone and you'll lose one of those reviews, right? So make sure you give them this direct link. This will take them directly to your reviews option. Okay, so we have, we're getting low on time. We got about 20 minutes left. So the next thing I would like to do is I'm going to show you some of the types of posts that you can share. All right, so at this point you have a Facebook page, you've got some of your basic information saved on there, so you want to start using the page, right? So this is where you can actually create posts and you can do different things with your new page. So to create a post, you're on your page right now, you want to click in this box where it says write something. So there's a lot of kinds of posts that you can create. So the first post is you can just write something, right? So we'll go ahead and publish that. So you write something and you click publish, and that publishes that post on your page. So it's going to refresh the page. And now that I posted that, if you scroll down, you can see it says hi world right there. Okay? That's the easiest kind of post. There are lots of things you can do, but obviously writing text is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to show you a few of the others that you can do. The next thing is going to be photo or video. So right next to where it says status right here, there's another one that says photo/video. We're going to click on that. And if we do that, this gives us a bunch of different options. So the first one is probably the one that you're going to use initially, and that's just to simply upload a photo or video. So an example of this would be I have one picture of a house, or I have one video of a home I'm trying to sell, and I want to upload that and share it. That would be the one you want to click on. Now if you have multiple pictures, so if you have several pictures of the home, you might want to do create a photo album. So that's going to allow you to upload multiple pictures at once. It's going to save you the step of having to keep clicking on the upload photo. The third option here is create a photo carousel. So what a carousel looks like is this is all those images, except they're going to scroll. It's going to have each one next to each other, and they can scroll through them. Right? That one is not as popular, doesn't get used as much. Slideshow is the next thing. So slideshow is a mix between a video and an album. So basically, it takes your pictures, and it's 3 to 10, so anywhere from 3 to 10 photos. And it's going to create a slideshow. It's going to play them back to back, and I believe you can also add music to it that Facebook will provide for you. So that can be a really great thing if you have a new listing and you want to promote it, rather than just uploading the individual pictures. Make a slideshow. And it's also another way you can share the same content but make it look different, right? So if you have those in a slideshow versus just the pictures, those are actually two different posts. So that's a way to reuse it. And then we're going to skip Canvas. I wouldn't really mess with Canvas. It's a much more complex kind of post, so we'll leave that alone. So again, this is photo and video, and those are the options that you can have there. The next one over is live video. So who in here has done a live video real quick?
Oh, it's horrible. It's actually live.
Yeah, it's scary, right?
Corner and say, damn, it's there.
You can't get away from that, right? So hopefully I'm not actually going live yet. It should make me click another button. But if you click on live video, this is what's going to come up. I actually have I always keep a piece of tape over my camera on my computer in case somebody hacks you, So this is, obviously you can see me on the screen here. I'm not currently live, so don't worry, we're not on the internet at the moment. But you're going to see at the top you have camera. If you select camera when you go live, and we're not going to go too much into live video, but if you select camera, it's going to use the camera built into your computer. It's also going to use the audio from your computer, right? So a lot of times this is not the best camera. It's also not the best microphone. So this is a way to do it. And to be honest, for those of you that have the guts to try going live, as scary as it is, you are going to win significantly more right now than if you wait a year. So the more people who use these tools, the less effective they become. So if you're one of the only people doing a live video right now, you're going to get a lot of extra views versus if you wait to get it perfect, right? So even if you just have this little camera in your computer and you just have the microphone with that, this can be highly effective right now because not everyone, very few people are doing it yet. Once everybody starts doing it, you're going to have to get fancy to stand out, right? So just trying it, kudos to, I think there's 2 hands for people that have tried live video. Kudos to you because that's a great start. And doing this kind of thing is completely fine, and I'd highly encourage it. Now you can also select Connect, and this is where you have options to use third-party tools and to use other cameras and to get fancier with it. We use a camera called a Mevo when we do our live stream. We do a show every Friday. I also do a show on Thursdays that I just use my cell phone. So you don't have to get fancy, but I'd really recommend doing live video. If you're going to do a live video, make sure you say something about it. So if we look at the right side of the screen over here where it says Post, and it also says Settings, this is where we have a couple options. So you do want to say something about it. So what this is going to look like is whatever you type into the say something about this live video section, that is what it's going to say above the live video when you go live. So if you have a guest, let's say you're interviewing someone, which is a really good type of live video. So let's say you have a loan officer partner, right, that you want to do a little bit of an interview with. Make sure you mention who they are in this section, and that'll show people what to expect from your video. And then you want to add a title. You can also tag it. And then if you're playing a video game, because I doubt many of you are going to go live playing video games, but if you do, you can tell people what you're playing. And then we won't get into the settings right now, but I would definitely recommend. Live video is one of these things that Facebook is promoting aggressively, and the reason for that is that live video is interactive. People can ask questions, they can leave comments, they can engage with each other. So sometimes you'll be on screen talking and you'll have 2 people watching that are having a conversation below the video. Facebook loves that. That's what they're really focused on right now. They've had like a really bad 2 years, lots of Russian interference in the election and fake news and clickbait and all these different issues. They have since decided, okay, we need to get back to our roots and get back to people just interacting with each other, getting to know each other, sharing things with their family and friends. So anything you can do to encourage that, Facebook really likes. So live video is a big one, and then the other one that they've mentioned is Facebook groups. So getting in Facebook groups, having your own Facebook group, commenting, interacting with other people in other groups. You don't have to have your own, just get in some groups and interact with people. That's stuff that Facebook is pushing a lot more right now. So just keep that in mind. And then the other types of posts, we're not going to get into every single one of these because there's quite a few. But experiment with these, right? So Facebook gives you a lot of different tools. They want to make this as productive as possible. So they give you a whole bunch of things you can do. You can create an event. We do a lot of event marketing on Facebook. It works really well. You can get people to look at a product. You can write a list. You can make offers. You can add milestones, write a note, create a poll, etc., etc. The one I want to show you really quickly here is just this create a poll. So the reason I think this is a cool tool is that this is something people like to engage with, right? So if you have something, and the only issue, I don't know why this is the case, but they only let you put 2 options unless you post a poll in a group. If you post it in a group, they'll let you add more options. To me, it almost feels like a glitch. I don't know why it works that way, but at least on your page, you can only put 2 options. So keep it simple. Think about, you could ask people like, which do you prefer, McDonald's or Burger King, right? So something where there's kind of 2 big names you can throw out. Those would be really good. But the reason I bring up polls, and I want to show you this, is that this is something that gets people engaging, right? So Facebook is, they're sharing less. We're kind of a little bit less active on Facebook than we used to. That's what they're trying to address. So a poll is something that's really easy to engage with. You basically click one of 2 buttons, but it gets people excited, right? So I did a poll. I noticed about 3 or 4 weeks ago I was getting a lot more friend requests than I was used to. I was like, oh, maybe I'm just that much more popular now. But I was like, maybe I'll ask people if they're seeing the same thing, because it could also be a trend that's happening on Facebook, and I was kind of curious. So I created a poll, and I asked people, since January 1st, have you noticed that you're receiving more Facebook requests or less than you were before that, right? Now, it would have been nice to have a third, which was no change, but they only give me 2 options. So I put that out, and I found out a lot of people were getting more Facebook friend requests, and so I wasn't actually getting more popular. It's just people were sending more friend requests, I guess, right? So, but that was interesting. I probably had 20, I think it was about 27 people responded to that poll. I also got a lot of likes and comments on it as well. And it was something that people, they were interested. Like, they were like, oh, I've noticed that too, right? They were having a similar experience. Or they were getting less, and they, I guess, felt bad because they weren't getting any friend requests anymore. But we got people engaged, right? And that's the key, is you get people thinking, you get people talking. That ended up getting shown to a lot more people than a lot of our other posts, right?
Is that under live video?
No, that's under this one. It says events,
Oh, yeah.
products, and then the plus.
Okay.
So if you click on that, you get all these different options
Got it.
here. And that was this one. Create a poll for people to vote. One last thing I'll mention is that you can click on this and you can select how long you want your poll to be active for. So it can be 1 day, 1 week. It can go on forever, or you can select a custom amount of time. So again, this is Facebook only giving you a couple choices, even though you can literally choose anything, right? Okay, and then you just go ahead and you fill it out and you hit publish, and that's going to go live on your page. So those are the different kinds of posts you can do. So I want to show you a couple other things that have to do with the post before we move on. Now let's say you put up a post and you realized after you shared it that you typed something wrong. There's a typo, or you put the wrong person's name in, or something like that. You might want to either delete that post or edit it, right? So if you want to edit a post, you come down to your post section. That's what we're looking at right here. This is the one I shared just a few minutes ago. And again, these little 3 buttons. If you ever see 3 little dots on Facebook, that means there's a menu behind it, right? So just remember that. So all of your posts are going to have the 3 little dots in the right corner, top right corner. Go ahead and click on that, and you're going to have a few options. You can edit the post. So if you mess something up, go ahead and click Edit Post. You can change the date on the post. I don't really use that ever, but if you want to go ahead and backdate something like that. You can even delete it. So if you come down to delete from page, that's going to delete the post forever from your page. And then if you don't want to delete it, so you don't want, if it's got a bunch of pictures in it or something, you don't want it to go away entirely, you can hit hide from timeline, which means that it still exists, it just won't show up on your Facebook page anymore. So a lot of people generally are just going to delete it if you really don't want it there. Alright, and then the last thing I want to show you in this is pin to top of page. So if you have a post that is for some reason significant to your business for a specific period of time or forever, and you want that to be something that as many people see as possible, you're going to want to pin it to the top of your page. So I'll give you an example from kind of our business. If we create an event and we share that, and it's coming up 3 weeks from now, then I probably want everybody that comes to our page to see that event, right? So that would be something I could pin to the top of the page. You can only pin 1 post, and you can change it, so it's not a permanent thing, but you can only pin 1 at a time. So if you have something that really stands out, man, I sold the coolest house I've ever sold, in my career, and I want people to see that as much as possible, that might be something you want to pin, right? Now, if you go ahead and pin it, so now that post is pinned to the top of the page. Just going to refresh it to make sure it shows up there. Okay, so now it's got this little pin icon, so everybody see that in the top right corner, there's a little pin on it. That means that it's the one pinned post, it's the one at the top. If I want to get rid of it, I just go to unpin from top of the page, or I pin a different one. If I go to a different post and I pin that one, it will get rid of this first one. Okay?
Where
So
does this one go?
it just goes back into the regular where it was initially. So yeah, so if it's like 2 weeks old, you scroll down to 2 weeks ago and you'll find it there.
But it wouldn't be set.
No, so if you unpin it, it goes back to wherever it should live in your feed, right? So if it was from 2 months ago, it's going to go way down to the bottom, right? So there's no way to control. The only thing that can be right below it is whatever you posted last, right? Okay, so that's how you pin them. We got looks like just a couple minutes left, so I want to show you how to invite people to like the page. So again, I'm going to scroll back up to the top. So if you want to get some likes on your page, the easiest way to do that is invite people to like the page. So that's right here. So it says no friends who might like your page. And if you have a page set up, you might have to scroll a little bit further down. It might say community, and you'll need to scroll down there to access this button that'll say invite friends. But for right now, if you're setting it up, you'll be able to type in it here. So this is where you can go through and you can find somebody to invite. And then you search for their name, and then you just click that button that says invite next to their name. So along those lines, just make sure you're inviting the right people. Don't invite people to like your page if they don't know you. I mean, these are only people you're friends with, so it's not like you can invite any random stranger. So they're people you're friends with, but make sure you're inviting people that have an interest or a reason to follow your page. So
You're friends with them first.
correct. So this is all so who you can invite here is all about who you're friends with on your personal page, right? So your main Facebook account, who is a friend, you can invite them using this tool. Now, you're not the only one who can invite people. So if you have, a significant other or a friend that is also willing to help you do this, they can come to your page and invite anybody that they're friends with to like your page, right? So if there are other people who are happy to help you out in your business, especially clients, like people you've worked with in the past, they might be willing to do that. If you can get them to come to your page, they'll have the same sort of thing where they can search for friends and they can invite them as well. So that's one thing. It takes some extra effort. You have to maybe make some phone calls and ask for some favors and maybe show them how to do it if they're not familiar with it. But that can be a really great way to add another 50 to even a couple hundred likes on your page. That can go a long way. So I want to make sure I showed you that. I want to show you one other thing. I'm going to need to access another page to do this. So this is my Nick Niehaus page. So if I look for, So one other thing you can do to get people to like your page is, let's say you have a post, you share something and it's really exciting and a whole bunch of people like it, and so you decide to boost it, and we'll talk about ads in another training, but you decide to boost it and more people like it, and there's all these people, it's a really cool post for whatever reason. Anybody who likes a post from your page, you can invite to like your page. So these would have to be obviously people who have not liked your page already, but let me show you how you do that. So you have a post here, you've got the people who liked it, so their names are going to show up next to the little like icon. If you click on those names, it's going to pull up whoever liked it, and if they hadn't liked my page already, I could click this and it would say invite. So that's another way to get more likes on your page, right? So one example of this would be, let's say, so I saw example the other day where it had been snowing and it was 70 degrees, and there was a realtor who he made a little meme about you never know what it's going to be like in St. Louis weather, and he shared that and he promoted it, and it was kind of funny, and so people liked it, right? He went through then and he invited each of those people to like his page, and he has about 1,500 likes. That's actually where he got a lot of those, right? So if you are advertising, if you're showing things, people, another example would be, let's say you put up pictures of a house that you're selling, you put it on your business page and you share it there, and then your customer, whose house you're trying to sell, they share that post to their friends. If any of their friends like that post, a good chance they will, you can invite those people to like your page, right? So this is a tool that I think only some people have realized is there, but definitely make sure anytime you're getting likes on posts, if they're not people that are following your page, make sure you invite them. Okay, so we did, and then the one last thing, because I know we're out of time here, I do want to make sure everybody knows how to do this as well, is if you are on your personal account, so you're on Facebook, you're scrolling through, and you see something somebody shared that you thought was really cool, and you want to share it to your business page, okay? So you're on normal Facebook, you're just kind of messing around, looking at things. Let's say there's a video, let's say it's, a really cool guy interviewing another guy, and it's Bourbon Friday, and you really want to share it with people. What you can do is you come down to the share button. So that part should be pretty obvious, right? So you go ahead and click share, and then it's going to give you two options. It gives you share ... or share to a page. So go ahead and click share to a page, obviously, right? So this is how you make sure you're sharing it to a page, and then it's going to give you access to any page that you manage. So I have a whole bunch of pages in here. I have probably 30, 40 pages that I'm in. I get a lot of notifications throughout the day. You can see I got 5 right now. So you pick which one you want. So let's say I wanted to share it on our BNI BBQ page. That's going to show up here. Now there's one other thing you want to look at, and it's this second one. It's posting as. So what that means is, who is it going to say put that on the page? So if I leave it like this, it'll just share it from the page like normal. So it's going to be on it's going to be on my BBQ page, and it's going to say it was shared by BBQ. 99% of the time, just leave that alone, unless you specifically want it to say that you personally shared it, right? So there's only a few cases where that would be necessary, but you can change this. So I can click over here, and I can say it came from any of the pages I control, or I can say it came from me personally. So now if I share this, it's going to go to this BNI BBQ page, but it's going to say Nick Niehaus shared it to that page. Alright, so anytime you're on Facebook, this is probably the easiest way to make sure you're posting regularly on your page, is just to share things you find. It's also probably the weakest way to share on your page, right? So the thing you should focus on your page, and again, these are topics for later trainings, but you should really try to share things that you create as much as possible. So if they're pictures you took, if it's a video that you made, if it's something you wrote, that stuff is generally going to do better than if it's something you shared from somebody else, right? That's just kind of how Facebook really likes original content. So if Facebook sees something that you made, it's going to show it to more people than if it's something someone else made, okay? Yeah.
Can you show them how to add other people to the admin?
Yeah, I was gonna see if we had time for that. All right, so that was how to share. Last thing I want to make sure we do is we show people how to add an admin, because that's how you share access to your page. So we're going back to our demo page here. We're gonna go to settings. Now we're in the settings, so this is kind of the back end of the page again. We're gonna look at the left side, and it's gonna say page roles. So page roles is where you add other people to your page. And then when you add someone, generally I think you have to have them as a Facebook friend, so make sure you're friends with them first. At least it won't.
If you know the email address they're using.
Okay, you can use their email, but if you have the name, yeah. You generally just want to make sure you're friends to keep it easy. So you sign a new page role. There are different levels you can add somebody as. Most of you, if you don't have any preferences, just choose admin. That means that they're equal to you. They have all the same access to your page that you do. And then I'm not going to go into all these, but obviously there's other levels. Like for instance, the only one I'll talk about is editor. If you give someone editor, that means they can do pretty much everything on your page, but they can't add other admins, and they can't get rid of you. If you add somebody as an admin, they can do everything you can, so they can boot you and you can boot them, right? So generally, if they're not like an actual business partner, if they're not an equal in your business, add them as an editor. And then, like I said, the rest aren't necessary. So just to show you how that works, you type their name in, it's going to pull up all the different people you can select, and then you go ahead and click add. So again, that's under page roles, and then assign a new page role. Okay, so I know we had this scheduled till 1. I think what we can do now is, obviously anybody needs to go, you can get out of here. If you have other questions that you feel like you need some individual help with, I will hang around for a while, and feel free to ask any of those.
We have plenty of privileges and cookies left. How did we sign up for the video?
Yeah, so, okay, a couple things to wrap it up here. I'm going to go back to this presentation just because I have a slide on what the next training is about. So if you, if you need the video on your handout, and hopefully most of you flipped it over and realized there's also a checklist on the back. So that checklist, we'll need to get you on it. Somebody else has your fingers. So on the handout, my contact information is in the top right corner. It's both my cell phone and my email address. If you would like the video, please just shoot me an email, and you can just put video in the subject line, or Busey video, whatever you want to put in there. Just put something that reminds me what you're looking for. It's going to take me a day or two to put this together, because I have to take the audio now from my microphone and splice it with the video, and it's an hour and a half long, so it'll be a pretty big file. I will upload it to YouTube, and you can access it from there. So, and I'll have to ask about permission in terms of how public we can make that. But what it's going to be is it'll be a recording of my voice, and it'll be everything that you saw on the screen today. So all those steps. If there are things we did not cover today, because there are some things on my agenda that we just didn't have a chance to get to, we could talk about this for 15 hours, honestly. We don't have that much time. So if there's specific questions you have, feel free to email me about those as well, or call me. I'll be happy to answer those over the phone for you. So to wrap things up, just want to make sure that you understand what we're going to be doing in the next training. So if you do have questions about this, you don't have to ask these yet. We are going to be going over how to create appealing content for your page, and also how to find it, right? So So basically we're talking about if you're not sure what to post on your page, where can you go to find things that are helpful, and how can you start to create content? What are some tools you can use to actually put things out there yourself? And we'll talk. We'll also talk a little bit. We won't go too much into depth. We'll talk about how you can use a customer avatar to give you better ideas on how to find good content. So it's basically how do you create a demographic profile of your ideal customer, and then find things that those people are automatically going to like. So we'll be talking about that as well. And then in terms of the rest of the 12 months, we are going to basically try to take you, and again, these are 1-hour trainings, so they're not the most in-depth version of what we do, but we're going to basically give you 12 trainings that are going to gradually work you up to the point where you can do your own videos on Facebook, and you can do your own advertising, right? So again, this is not a college level course, so you might want to do some research on your own as well. But you should have those all outlined, and you can basically, if you come through all 12 of these, you'll be at a point where you can start to try doing advertisements on Facebook and creating your own videos and probably getting into live video and things like that as well. So that's all I got. We're out of time. Yeah, thanks for coming today. Do we have those? We have
The
our
next one
adjusting
is March
things.
6th. That is our next event.